Hey, what's happening, everybody? Christopher here. Good to see you at 1:31 Eastern Time here in New York. And I really appreciate you jumping on the live stream to be with me today as we celebrate the launch of Imperium Descent, Volume 1, which has hit Audible around 3 a.m. Eastern this morning. And and as well as Kindle and Amazon, paperback, hardcover, it's all there. Comments flying in all over the place. So thank you for joining me on Facebook Live, on Twitter Live, and on YouTube Live as well. It's really great to have you here. So a couple people have said such dramatic music during the countdown. Nikki Hurlbut, thank you for that comment. Yes, this is actually my music, what you heard in the countdown, and I hope to release it actually for Imperium Descent. It's I've been sitting on it for a while, and I have a couple tracks. So maybe we'll release it. I'm thinking after the first of the year, and we'll see what we can do for everybody. But I'm glad you liked it. It was kind of dramatic. I had to do something different, and I have all this original music, but Facebook kept bumping me off and saying, hey, you can't use copyrighted material. But I have the licenses for all those songs, so it just becomes a pain in the butt. So I need to put stuff out that doesn't have any copyright associated with it, except for my own, because we haven't published it yet. Aaron Campbell, about to testify in a court case, but trying to grab a quick glance at you. Wow, Aaron, way to way to kind of like escape for a few minutes. I appreciate that, brother. I hope you're having a good day. I hope the court case goes well. I like this from Robert Hannaford. Did I hear that an Imperium Descent soundtrack is coming? I think that might be what we're talking about, brother. So we'll see. We'll see what you all think about it. Canlin 62. I knew it was yours. Yay. I appreciate that. I'm glad you knew. You could just tell from the signature motif, couldn't you? Yeah. John Holly, nicely done. Appreciate it, man. It means a lot. So yes, a lot of you already know that the book has hit the Audible and the Amazon. We're seeing comments already rolling in. Really appreciate all the very kind reviews that are pouring in across the platforms and helping that climb higher and higher. I love this. Fred Courier, congratulations. Thank you, my friend. That means so much to me. Your encouragement and support for the years has been really, really special. And yeah, I want to thank so many people. Maybe we'll do it as the project and as the day goes on. This is the second event. We just finished a little live Zoom call with a whole bunch of the VIP members. So I appreciate you guys. If you want to be a part of the VIP, you're welcome to. It's completely free, believe it or not, and doesn't cost a thing. But you can do that over at christopherhopper.com/VIP. You get a really cool poker chip. You get invited to the Facebook group and the Discord group. You get a brand new short story that we just released yesterday on audio and print called Rogues and Rebels, which is a whole lot of fun. And yeah, and you get to be a part of a great community. So it's really cool. I look at this. Oh, Hannah Ruth taking a break from sermon prep. And so awesome to see this. Thank you. I appreciate you leaving the comment. Glad I could have a little interjection in the midst of your day, break up the workday. Yeah, it's good stuff. So yes, anyway, the book is doing really well. We're watching it climb the ranks, and I've just got notified from a good friend of mine, Jeremy Andrew Davis. Look him up on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. The guy is the most famous online guy I know, and he's plugging the book right now, which is really special. And he was a consultant for me on the project as well, because we wanted to have disability representation in the book. And it was important to me to actually have a professional disability consultant when we talked about stuff, because I can often insert my foot in my mouth. And I think we all can if we're not educated. And education is an intentional process, at least the lower threshold of pain tolerance version of it is. We can learn lessons the hard way. I don't really like those. Let's see. My wonderful mama in France asking if I could speak a little slower. I'm super excited. Je suis très content que tu es ici avec moi. Je t'aime beaucoup. Maman, merci pour tout l'amour et toutes les choses. It's just the way it is. So thank you for being here. Um, let's see. Was stuck in an audit meeting. That's fantastic. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for unsticking yourself from the meeting. And Facebook is working better this time. That makes me really, really happy. Good stuff. So, thank you. Je t'aime moi aussi. Bisous. By the way, I was almost going to do a French accent for a character in the Rogues and Rebels short story, but but it hasn't worked there yet. He's on his 8th pot of coffee. I have been up since 4 a.m. We've been checking the book and responding to emails, responding to private messages whenever they come in, and that's been a whole lot of fun. Your comments are awesome. So again, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, yeah, really thank you for being here. So, in addition to this event, and I'm going to get into some reading in just a second, but in addition to this event, we have a Q&A coming up tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So those of you in Europe and moving east across Asia, that's going to be a little difficult, I know, unless you really want to be early birds with us. Those to the west of us, the time will probably work a little bit better for you. However, I'd love to invite you to that. Mr. Dan Wong in Toronto, Canada, will be interviewing me, and I'm really excited for that. He's an incredible guy, a good friend. He's helped edit some of my work, and it's just awesome to have this incredible community of support. So tune in for that. You can drop your questions. We'll be taking them probably for about an hour and a half, and see how far we go with it. And yeah, so it should be a good time. Anyway, let's get into some reading. I'm going to read an excerpt. Now, I should say this for those of you who are new to voiceover work or watching somebody narrate. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and there's a lot of editing that happens after the fact. So as I read this, you'll see me make plenty of mistakes. That's where my editor would go in and clean things up. And so what you get on Audible today is really beautiful. It's been treated well. Lots of audio treatment go into that and making it sound the way we want it to. However, here in this live setting, you get to see me as if I were on stage performing it. So that's fun. And hopefully it gives you a little bit behind the scenes of what goes into making an audiobook be an audiobook. The other thing I want to say is if you are planning on listening to the audiobook or reading the book, I am going to read from chapter 6. And this was by popular demand. I put it up for a vote, and this is what people wanted to hear. It doesn't really have, it has one spoiler in it, but my suspicion is that given the amount of content and the amount of characters, that it might just kind of fade into the background as some white noise, and you'll get lost more in the performance right now than necessarily hearing a spoiler toward the end. So if that is something you don't want to hear, now would be your opportunity to tune out. Likewise, if you don't think you're going to be reading the book, you could then stay in because it really doesn't matter to you anyway. And you're just here to see a bald-headed white man. I'm not sure. But anyway, so this is from chapter 6. I'll take a pause here and there to drink and also get to any questions that pop up or any comments. So feel free to leave those as we go on. And again, just super excited to have you here. Thank you for joining me. Really means a lot. And I appreciate the hearts and the thumbs up on the broadcast as well. This whole platform is something we're doing new, is, just to see how it works and see how people enjoy it and how we engage. So, all right, so this is chapter 6. I'll set this up by saying that one of the main characters, her name is Princess Aurelia Pendolin, is a part and is attending a huge arena event. So think a gladiator style event. Oh, I got to say a quick shout out to my buddy Shane Maroff. Congrats on the book drop. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that so much. And John Holly Jr. says, pre-COVID, I was a part of a small theater group. It is a challenge. Yes, sir. Congrats to you. That's really cool. So Aurelia is in this arena, and I want you to think like a gladiator style event. And she is part of the royal family who is overseeing this event. It's called Vindictora Festival. And really what it is, it's pretty brutal, and you'll hear some of that language. We've tried to keep this as PG-13 as possible. So we wanted to make sure we were in the teenage threshold region, which, by the way, we just reached #1 in teen science fiction today, which is really cool. That's pretty awesome, and I consider that a huge privilege. So trying to keep it accessible for younger readers, but still have enough depth to and intensity to keep some of the more mature readers, we'll say, entertained. But in this moment, they have people, basically criminals, are given a chance to fight for their lives, a la gladiator style combat. And should they get to the end of the obstacle course, then they are granted a stay of their sentence. However, the high likelihood is that they will probably die in the arena in combat. And so that's what the scene is. I appreciate this real quick coming in from Myron Jameson. Thank you, sir. Congrats, brother. I appreciate it. Love the comment. Thanks for watching. So in the progress of this conflict in this arena, this is where Aurelia is set up in the stands, in the grandstands, not the cheap seats, the expensive seats, overseeing this. And she's taking it all in. And I think it's important to kind of set up this one more time, too, that she has been processing a lot of, she's been questioning this event and everything surrounding this event, especially how sentences are passed and how criminals are arrested and tried and then put into this environment. So she's really beginning to think about this in new ways. So again, more on that as you read the book. But I'm going to dive in here. This is chapter 6, just a short excerpt of about 1,600 words. And we'll see how we go. All right, cool. Okay. The first dwellers started up the ramps much like mussets would, Aurelia thought. Timid, trembling, and shying away from the stadia's inescapable noise, as if something might swoop out of the sky and snatch them from the arena. Eventually, 3 contestants summited the first platforms and froze as they looked ahead. Aurelia imagined it wasn't just the towering height that scared them. Ropes and suspended ladders crisscrossed over 3 different pits. To the left, the convicts faced snakes. To the right, a shallow ditch with metal spikes. And in the middle, a trench of boiling oil. And if those stakes weren't enough, the rock keepers waited in the rigging above, suspended like spiders ready to rappel down and employ their weapons. Timid as they were, Aurelia noticed that all 3 convicts found courage by glancing at the pyramid in the distance. Any normal fire would be lit from the bottom and work its way up, but Palador timber sap was so thick and flammable and burned so hot that a fire could work itself downward through a stack of wood. The progress was slow, but even that had been taken into consideration by the arena designers. Aurelia guessed that the mussets, bound on the pyramid's high steps, had 5 minutes before the flames worked down to them. Those in the middle had 10 to 15, and those near the base had maybe 30. It was the prisoners on the topmost level that seemed to compel the first contestants to climb the ropes. Aurelia suddenly wondered if the dwellers and captive mussets knew each other. Co-conspirators, perhaps, or maybe just convicts who'd become friends while in prison. It did make for some compelling drama. The first dweller to die missed a handhold on a suspended ladder and flipped once before landing in the snake pit. Even from her height, Aurelia heard a male voice cry out and the sound of a bone snap. His suffering ended when the yellow rock snakes latched onto him, injected their venom into his bloodstream, and stopped his heart cold. For some strange reason, Aurelia recalled her recent readings on excreants and wondered whether the man was an outcast by birth or by choice. If the latter, what crimes had he committed that doomed him to this fate? Moreover, as Sophos the Wise had so skillfully illustrated in his volumes, were those crimes motivated by moral faults or the soul of pressures from a corrupt system? The crowd went wild. and Aurelia shook her head to clear her thoughts. A second victim almost made it to the opposite side of the oil pit when a rock keeper wielding a mace struck the contestant in the hand. The woman, based on the tone of her scream, recoiled and fell from the rigging. She landed with a splash in the oil. Despite her best efforts to climb out, the boiling fluid seemed to pull her back in until her body disappeared beneath the viscous surface. Again, the audience roared in delight. After climbing through the ropes, one lucky dweller descended onto the second set of platforms and raised his hands victoriously. He was met by a cudgel-wielding lizard who swung but missed. The musset grabbed the lizard around his midsection, hoisted him off his feet, and then fell backward. Unfortunately for both contestants, they tumbled into the spike pit and were impaled as one. The stadia exulted in their deaths. With the first wave over, Lord and Lady Pendleton clapped, honoring the victims for their bravery and Kai Tuck for her justice. Aurelia, too, clapped her hands, but the act felt half-hearted. What if she were celebrating the deaths of excreants like those in Sophos's books? Those who'd been arrested simply because they didn't fit the Imperium's mold, or had just been imprisoned illegally without a tribunal review. "Calm down, Aura," she told herself. "Justice and tradition endure for a reason." She didn't need to bother herself with such things anyway. They could all wait. Instead, she turned to wondering how the next contestants might fare. To her surprise, 3 dwellers made it through the first stage and then over the rolling logs of the second stage. 2 tried to cross the flowering lily pond, but Aurelia rightly guessed that would be nearly impossible without some sort of tool. Those were sildosa lilies, a poisonous freshwater plant known for killing on contact with skin. Victims went into seizures and then slipped beneath the water. Only when a musset retrieved a rock dweller's mace to push the lilies aside did others make it through unscathed. 3 more mussets died in the sandpit, one riddled with Caletian scorpions. The audience laughed as the victim spasmed from the stings. But with as much ground as the mussets had made, it was not enough to save the top tier of hostages. The pyramid's flames had reached their heads and shoulders, causing them to writhe and shriek. Only when the fire had reached their hands did the bonds break, but by then it was too late. Seeing the fates of their costumed kin above, the mussets on middle tiers started yelling for the respective champions to hurry through the gauntlet. Their shouts, however, were all but drowned out by the cheering crowd. I gotta stop real quick because Robert Hannaford says, this has a Hunger Games feel. Yeah, that was very much the strategy here, from some of the tension, trying to combine both modern storytelling as well as some of the gladiatorial style. So, okay, keep going. The course's final section at the pyramid's base was a dirt arena with 12-foot tall granite spikes, 8 feet wide at the base and pointed at the top. Each had a chain attached at the peak, and Aurelia was curious to see how the contestants might use them. Most of the rock keepers had avoided the pit sections and waited in this area where their weapons would be of most use. Plus, any mussets who made it to them would be exhausted. It's certainly the smartest strategy, Aurelia thought. At least 4 dwellers died within seconds as they took to the dirt combat area. The lizards hid behind the spires, waiting for their prey. With one hand wrapped around the chain, a creative lizard swung around the spike's side and slashed at an unsuspecting musset. More rock dwellers copied the first and soon slaughtered a handful of costumed rodents. But their scheme was revealed. The next wave of challengers knew how to time their advances and when to duck. Before long, the mussets and lizards were in a melee, each side vying for survival, and all while the flames descended closer to the next tier of hostages. Just then, Aurelia noticed one of the convicts on the pyramid lose their face mask, the strap broken from their mad attempt to escape. She was surprised that the person wasn't a Galpelli at all, but a human species child. Not unheard of for sacrifices, but not common either. But the face, it seemed familiar. She leaned forward, wondering how she knew the convict, if she knew them at all. And then, all at once, she recognized the face. Tess? Your Majesty? Isan asked. It couldn't be her. That was impossible. What is it, Clear One? Isan persisted. That young woman, there on the pyramid. Do you recognize her? I can't say that I do. But then something about Isan's body language seemed to change. Aurelia looked up at him. You do, don't you? A coincidence, Clear One. Nothing more. No, it's not. Aurelia felt her heartbeat quicken, the sound pounding in her ears. Were her face not already warm from the distant pyre, she would have felt her blood's heat flooding her cheeks. Aurelia spotted a second person just beside Tess, a boy, no more than 15. Arching his back, wailing. Her brother, the excreant. Then she looked at the place where Tess directed her screams and spotted two people in costumes, one a woman dressed as a dweller, the other a man dressed as a rock keeper, both fighting toward the pyramid. To free their children, Aurelia realized. It was Travia and her husband. Isan, do something! Clear One? She was on her feet. You must save them. Save them? But I ordered you to spare those four. Isan's eyes went wide. It was a difficult task, she knew that, yet it didn't stop her from demanding it, from ordering him to interfere with the sacrifices. What's the meaning of this? Her father demanded, leaning around his chair back. Aurelia? It's the Cormant's father. I'm sorry? The family, the one I tried to help. They're there, in the gauntlet, look! He turned back at the arena. That's impossible. This is not justice. We have to do something. Brogan's face saddened. I'm sorry, my dear. There is nothing to be done. You're Lord Pendleton. Of course there's something to be done. Aurelia pounded fists at the tops of her parents' thrones and then looked to the arena. Travia and her husband had put their backs together and were now fighting anyone who dared stop them as they neared the pyramid. Likewise, Tess tried to jerk the post from its place in the step, but it held fast. Her face contorted in screams as the fire drew near. Tillian, too, grew more frantic. While his blindness didn't allow him to see the flames, he surely felt and heard them. But the parents would never reach their children in time. Something had to be done. Shoot their bonds, Aurelia ordered Isan. Clear One? I said shoot those children's bonds. They are no convicts. But, Princess, I lack a weapon that can do that. Rage and frustration swelled in Aurelia's chest. She watched as the husband tried, but failed to fend off two attackers at once. A mace struck the side of his head, while a cudgel dropped on his and broke his neck. Travia shrieked, ripping off her mask and charging her husband's assailants. She clawed at one in the face, but the other man threw her down and clubbed her with an axe. Aurelia leaped from her chair and rushed to the first stratostair she could find, the one with the ghoulish mask. By decree of High Family Pendleton, and upon pain of death, I order you to sever the bonds of that child and her brother. There you go. Thus concludes the reading of an excerpt from Chapter 6 in Imperium Descent, Volume 1, available today on Amazon and Audible, wherever books are sold in the world. There you go. I hope you all enjoyed that. Nikki Hurlbutt has, sorry, you said that, Robert. Totally a Hunger Games feel to it, says Nikki. I appreciate that. Facebook user, I don't know who you are, but thank you for the hearts. My system doesn't tell me your name, but thank you for that. Nikki, whew, yeah, I get it. Bravo, thank you, Mr. Holly, I appreciate it. You crack me up. I'm glad. That's good. I like this one from Gerard. Keep going. Well, maybe we will. I mean, this is a great moment in the book. What time we got? We're only 26 minutes in. Maybe I'll do a little bit more. We'll see here in a second. Diana, most excellent. Thank you very much, Diana. That means a lot to me. Really appreciate it. Jason Pennock, all the way from Australia. How are you still up, my friend? Good grief. Awesome, dude. I appreciate that, mate. Means a lot. I got a well done, Christopher. Dave Hepburn. Got you. Thank you, buddy. Marcia Bauschel. Childhood friend. So nice to see your name. That makes me so happy. I'm glad you're here. Sean Shepard. That was an awesome chapter. Can't wait to read more. Congrats, Sean. Thank you very much, buddy. Really, really is touching. Go Gadget. Okay. And Jason Pennock, your word. Whenever you say your word, you have to sound like Sidarius Call. Your word. I appreciate this comment. Great voices and story. How have you not been doing narration all along? Honestly, that is a wonderful question, Aaron. I've been intimidated, to be quite honest with you. My books, as many of you know, have been read by some amazing people with some incredible talent. And so it's really important to me that I do not just provide a book that, obviously that sense of self-expression is important. But at the end of the day, I can't sacrifice quality. And so knowing that I at least want to be, I don't have to be better. I don't have to be even comparable. I just need to be passable. And so knowing that I could at least be passable has been a little bit of a litmus test for me going forward. So that's the reason I've waited so long. It took me about 6 months of work with some producers, voice acting coaches, and just to get my mouth to articulate clearly, a lot of vocal and muscle exercises. You're working all those things there. So yeah, good question. Took a lot to get there. Got to run. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. Aaron Bird, Bob Bray has some competition now. I wish. But thank you for the kind words. He is a master and a legend, and I'm honored. Somebody says you do have the quality. Thank you. Super kind. Better than passable. You know what? I'll take it. I'll take better than passable. This one, I don't know if I can post this one, but I'm doing it. You are the equal of all of them, Christopher. It's brilliant. I feel like you're really biased and probably exhausted out of your mind, Jason, because it is got to be close to 3 or 4 in the morning Australia time. So, but I would never shy away a compliment from you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Really, really means a lot. So anyway, yeah, catch the book on Audible. Please leave a review as you're able. Really appreciate those of you who are getting through it so quickly. Although that there is kind of a depressing nature, right? It takes quite a while to move through the book and create it. But I love that people are excited for this story. That's my heart, is that you would be excited for the story. Book 2 is going to be wrapping up this week, and then will be for sale on December 15th of next month. So that's pretty excited. And then book 3, if everything goes well, will be out in January. Somebody else asked how many books I plan in the series, by the way. Depending upon how well it's embraced, how well people like it, how well it sells, I could write 20 to 30 books in this particular universe. It's the most I've been excited about a universe since I've started writing. So there's a lot of potential, and we'll see what everybody thinks. So Dan, more. Thanks, Robert. And a big shout out to Mr. Dan Arena, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Also an incredible streamer, and appreciate you stopping in, Dan. Thanks for all you do, my friend. And just to confirm, if everybody wants to know what time it is right now in Australia, I think he's in. Are you in Queensland? I can't remember, Jason, but 5:30 a.m. You're watching at 5:30 a.m. and you've been up all night, because I knew you're with me on the Zoom call as well. So that's pretty huge. Anyway, I'm going to sign off here. We had a good little 2 hour, or oh my gosh, it's 2 o'clock. We've had a good little half an hour session. Unless you want me to read a little bit more. I'm trying to see how much this next section is. This is, yeah, let's do it. Okay, let's do it. Adelaide. Thank you, Jason. All right, I'm gonna do one more section. How's that? Is that all right? Do one more section. It's time late. It's all right. Bridget Taylor. Hey, thank you, Bridget Taylor. Thanks for dropping in. It's awesome to have you here, and I appreciate you saying hi. Read. Okay. Good. All right, because there are new people coming in. So, okay, so I'm gonna jump in from that section that you just saw. Um, so Aurelia has gone to the first. You should read a little bit more. Cool. Got it. Thanks. This is just for you, Bridget. How's that? Okay, so you have Aurelia, who has just gone to the first Stratus Air she can find, the nearest one she can find. It happens to be one of our heroes, one of our protagonists, Mr. Pellegrin Hale, and he is now conflicted because he's being asked to break the law, and he's asked to do it in a big way in front of about 300,000 people. What will Hale do? And so let's get in here. I don't know if I have any. Yeah, I don't even know if I have. He speaks a little bit more like, "That's right. How are you? It's really great that you're here today." That's Hale. Whereas Aurelia is more, "My name is Princess Aurelia Pendleton, and I need you to pay attention to me right now." So, let's jump in. Here we go. Little drink. Somebody, yeah, you can get the t-shirts, ChristopherHopper.com right now. Imperium t-shirt. A little plug for that. So thanks for saying so. Hale couldn't take his eyes off the golden-haired princess. She yelled at her Muris, which is her personal bodyguard, ordered him to do something for convicts in the arena. Acted like she recognized a few, maybe. But the Muris seemed reluctant. Then Lord Pendleton got involved. There was an argument. The next thing Hale knew, the princess, Mistress Aurelia Pendleton herself, ran toward him, eyes alight with rage. When she spoke, her tone was bitter, her words sharp, and when she finished, Hale felt the weight of the planet fall on his shoulders. Seeing people burn in the sacrifices forced memories to flash in his mind. Nothing definitive, but there were emotions. Fear, anger, grief. "Do it!" The princess thrust a finger toward two struggling figures just below the fire line. "Do it now, Stratus Air!" Ah, crit, Hale thought. And that was all. Because everything that happened next was instinct, aided by a sudden surge of whatever non-existent battle clear still lingered in his system. He shouldered his torrent blaster, activated the mag capacitor link, flipped off the safety, and rested his finger on the trigger. The weapon's advanced sights zoomed in on the girl's bonds, and without another second wasted, Hale fired. The light and percussion surprised everyone around him, including the princess, who jerked away. Hale saw the bonds break in a flash of sparks. The girl stood up in surprise and looked at her hands, but Hale didn't linger to see what she did next. He still had the second kid to free. He pivoted 3 degrees, aimed at the strap that held the boy's arms to the post, and fired. The second blaster bolt streaked across the arena, snapped the bonds, and forced the boy onto his haunches. With anything but his advanced blaster, the shot would have been far too dangerous. Hadion, it was still too dangerous. But Hale feared that the Pendletons and the Stratus might do to him if he disobeyed Pendelrelia's orders. By the way, that's a little plug for the blooper reel at the end of the audiobook. It's about 7 minutes of me doing that kind of stuff, and it's freaking hilarious. "You did it," the princess said in wonder. "You saved them." Hale didn't dare speak. He merely dipped his head and lowered his weapon, but words would have been lost anyway, as the audience quickly went from bewildered to manic. Shouts from all sides, including the royal gallery. The sounds didn't stop the princess from grabbing Hale's forearm with both her hands. "Thank you, Stratus Air," she yelled above the noise. He wanted to say, "You're welcome," but something told him that she was about to be in as much trouble as he was. "Your name?" she asked, eyes searching his chest for a rank or name. He just shook his head. No, you must tell me your name. He shook his head again and then backed away. Soldiers closed from the upper rows while Lord and Lady Pendleton shouted for their daughter. This was going sideways fast. He needed to move. Perhaps sensing his dire situation, the princess pointed to the banners hooked to the railing. If you can, descend those and seek escape from within. Was she insane? He glared at her and then back at the Stratosaurs moving toward him. If they caught him, Snake would have him arrested. And worse, Hale needed to move. Fast. I'll hold them up. Go, the princess yelled, now pushing him toward the railing. What in Salaron had he gotten himself into? Without another thought, Hale slung Dell's rifle over his shoulder, raced toward the railing, and then bounded over the side into midair. There you go. That's the second excerpt there from chapter 6. It's a big chapter, big scene. One of my favorite moments in the story, and yeah, just a good mix of a lot of build-up, a lot of action, and this encounter between Princess Penderelia and Hale. I appreciate this. Thanks, everybody. So cool. Marsha Barsha, I'll take that orange heart any day. Woohoo from Jason. Okay, I'm here on YouTube now. It's me, Dan Arena. Good to see you there. And a little bit you did to create her. Yes, that was Aurelia was a lot of fun to create. Jason Pennock, let's see where we going. Jason Pennock, Wibbins. So the very first blooper outtake you'll hear it in the blooper reel is me mispronouncing Wibbins, which is really the word ribbons. Yeah, a lot of fun. Huzzah, says Diana. Thank you so much. And I'm glad I bought the audiobook. Gerard Rupert, thank you. Yes, I'm glad you bought it too. Great performance, Christoph. Thank you. Little bow of the head to you, the bald head. And Canland62 says, awesome. Purple Wibbins. Yeah. Some great mispronunciations. So yeah, you can check the book out today. It's obviously dropped, and appreciate all the support. Let a friend know. Tell them that you're enjoying the book. Post something about it on social media. All that helps. It's really, really cool. So again, appreciate you jumping on board today, spending some time with me. Yeah, you're just wonderful. Join me tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time with Dan Wong. He'll be interviewing me. We're going to be having a good time. You can ask your questions there. We'll take as many as we can, and who knows? We'll see how long it goes. I haven't set a time limit. I think until Dan or I get exhausted. That's the that's the status. Pure exhaustion. So, okay, everybody, have a great day. Thanks again for watching and spreading the word. You are the best. And we'll see you in the galaxy. Peace.